Candy Carson, and today I'm going to be doing a presentation on the cons of nuclear power. It's just not worth it. What would you say if someone offered you a possible solution to the world's energy problems, but in turn you would possibly destroy the environment, destroy human life, and you would have to invest billions of dollars? Most of us would say no. Our country and others continue to do just that, invest billions of dollars, even though the cost, impact on the environment, and the safety issues are great and very real. After analysis, you can see that pursuing nuclear power is just not worth the cost and the risk. Cost. The cost of building nuclear reactors is great. The first generation of reactors, about half were abandoned during construction. Of the ones actually completed, they had a lot of cost overruns, and this is passed on to the consumer through increased power bills. Later generations, by 2009, the reactors were costing around $9 billion. In Levy County, Florida, they have collected $350 million from the customers over 5 years just for a down payment. Estimates for the reactors are between $17 to $22 billion. Also, the cost of maintaining old reactors is a factor. The Crystal River reactor, just south of the one I mentioned earlier, the Levy County one, it's been offline since 2009. Repair attempts have created new cracks. Replacing the panels or the entire building will take years and cost over $2 billion. Now, this was caused because the engineers found some safety issues, some cracks in the facility. And another reason that you can have an outage is when new safety standards are put in place. And new safety standards may be put in place when an incident occurs, such as Fukushima that happened just recently. Reactors may be deemed not worth repairing or keeping online when these new safety standards are put in place because it's just so costly. And this would equal billions of dollars down the drain. Now, all of this information so far was taken from the Bulletin of Atomic Scientists, July 2012, by Mark Cooper. And here is a chart that was also provided. This is all the reactors ordered or docketed in the U.S. And you can see that about half were canceled and half were actually brought online. Of this, 51% that were actually brought online, you can see that 6% had outages of 3 or more years. 19% had outages of 1 to 3 years, and 13% were just retired early. Impact on the environment is also a big factor. In case you didn't know, nuclear power produces a very dangerous waste. Spent fuel rods remain radioactive for hundreds, if not thousands of years. And no complete storage system for high-level waste exists. And this has bothered me for a few years, the fact that it's just sitting in containers or underground and there's really no good solution for what to do with it. Now, in August 2012, the U.S. government announced it would stop issuing permits until these issues are resolved. Now, this sounds great, but it turns out this was only because the courts got involved. And the Nuclear Regulatory Commission still believes that their current plans are safe. However, the court decided that if they're wrong, that the risks are just too great. And this comes from the United States Power Report put out by the federal government in the second quarter of this year. And here's a map presented by the U.S. Nuclear Regulatory Commission of all the spent fuel storage facilities by state. And you can see that the waste is sitting everywhere. Now, impact on the environment, the release of radioactive particles. The particles can be released in many ways. Reactor explosions such as Chernobyl, Soviet-era Ukraine in 1986, reactor fires such as that happened in Windscale, UK in 1957, container leaks such as Karachi, Russia, natural disasters such as Fukushima, Japan, that just took place in March 2011. Now, Hanford, Washington is an example of a combined disaster. Not only did they have radioactive waste sitting in underground tanks, and some has leaked into the soil, but they also had plutonium, through the plutonium separation process, radioactive isotopes were released into the air, and they have since been found in Washington and into Idaho, Montana, Oregon, and British Columbia. Also, huge volumes of water from the Columbia River were drawn into cooled reactors, and after they were done with it, they put it back into the Columbia River, which has led to radiation being found later in the Washington and Oregon coast. Safety, and the safety of human health is a big concern. The Hanford residents that I mentioned previously that live downwind or downstream were exposed to greater radiation than normal, and that puts them at an increased risk for various cancers and diseases. Also, Fukushima in 2011, the Prime Minister had said that their government would spend at least 1 trillion yen, which equals about $13 billion in US dollars, to clean up large contaminated areas. Also, Chernobyl in the Soviet era Ukraine in 1986, they had an explosion that caused numerous deaths, cases of cancer, and deformities. Safety and terrorism, using the nuclear plants as weapons. Nuclear power has a dual-use capability. The nuclear reactors can be used to help generate weapons-grade bomb materials, and in turn, unstable governments or ones that just want to take over other governments, they can transfer these weapons to terrorist groups. And just this month, North Korea announced it would use its plutonium or its uranium plant to make nuclear weapons. Now, this is ironic because in 2010, the U.S. suspected this, but they just claimed that they were only using it to generate electricity. Now, this month, the truth has come out, and they've admitted that no, they are going to use it for nuclear weapons. And this was taken from the New York Times. In conclusion, I believe you can see that the cost in dollars is just too great. The impact on the environment is just too great. The safety risks are just too great. All in all, nuclear power is just not worth it. Thank you.